Hi everyone, welcome to episode 14 of Future Work World. My name is Barry Winkless, head of the Future Work Institute at CPL. Very excited to be joined by Bill Banham, all the way from Norfolk, via Canada. I'm going to say, it just sounds more impressive when we say Canada. We just say Canada.
Always say Canada.
Okay, let's say Canada. Okay, all the way from Canada. Now, before I talk to Bill, I do have a slightly selfish announcement, which is the publication of my new book, Future Work World, available in all good bookstores and book sites globally. So please have a look. It's a user and design guide strategically for leaders out there in HR and beyond. So please have a read of my fabulous new book. So that's that done. So Bill, great to have you here. Bill Banham. Bill, I'll do a little bit of an intro about you first. Bill is editor of the HR Gazette, which is actually definitely worth a read. He's host of the HR Chat podcast, which I was on very, very recently. So recently that we've run one podcast into another. So it's really, really good to have done that. Very efficient use of our time, Bill.
Indeed.
Yeah. And I think really interestingly, Bill is also driving DisruptHR events in the UK and in Ireland and beyond, I think, as far as I know. Yep. And Bill was over yesterday, a really successful event, I'm going to say, with Personio in Dublin, DisruptHR. Lots of really great ideas there, lots of sharing, lots of energy. And also my book was available there for people for free, I might add, in there. So Bill, listen, it's really great to have you here. And as I think, as you said previously, it feels as though I've known you all my life kind of a thing. And I'm really interested in how you got from there to here, as to say, in Ireland. You know, what career brought you to where you are now, which really is about, in my words, connecting people, you know, sharing insights and creating these networks of change. So how did you get to here?
Yeah, firstly, thank you very much for inviting me on the pod. Thank you again for speaking last night at the event. That was a lot of fun.
1.5 minutes.
1.5 fantastic minutes. Best minutes of my life, got to say. So yeah, I'm Bill Banham, editor at HR Gazette. It's host of the HR Chat podcast, top 3 in the world for downloads and whatnot in HR tech and other categories. How did I get to here? I walked, but beyond that, so
walk slowly because you were out last night, right?
We won't go into that too much. So I always describe myself as a content editorial marketing guy within the world of HR.
Yeah.
So I started off my career at a big publishing house in West London. Then I got offered an opportunity to work for an events company that did events for HR pros, talent professionals, leaders. The first day of my new job there, they said, "Oh, by the way, you're the editor of our HR magazine as well." And I was like, "Oh, right, what?" So that was, it is HR Review. It's still a current publication. And they're more focused on the content side than the events these days.
Okay.
Actually, it's grown, won awards and all the rest of it. I was proudly part of that back in the day. Yeah. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. You know, the editorial side, and getting an opportunity to chat with clever people like yourself. So fast forward a few years, I got an opportunity to go back to Toronto. I'd spent a year after university in Toronto, and I loved it. And I worked for a performance management company over there, so an HR tech company over there. And kind of just as a hobby, because I'm a bit of a nerd, I started my own thing, which was the HR Gazette. And then on the back of that, the HR Chat podcast. So founded the podcast in 2016. We're currently at around about episode 880 or something like that. We publish 2 to 4 episodes per week, usually, unless I've got a bunch of events on, and maybe it falls down a wee bit. And I've had some amazing people on over the years. You know, so
I was looking at the list actually. You kind of go everything from NASA to Simon Sinek, I think. Is that right? Yeah.
Simon Sinek's head chap.
Sorry.
But we have had Dave Ulrich and Josh Ferguson and folks like that on the show over the years. So the audience primarily in North America for that. I was based over in Toronto for over a decade. So it's 45% in the US, 20% in Canada, and then about 17% in Europe.
Okay.
So yeah, the getting from there to here, started off in a marketing role, loved the editorial side, really enjoyed the HR leadership talent aspect, and been there ever since.
Okay, well, okay. Now, let's get on to DisruptHR. Right. I know we've gotten to a stage where I'm going to say you've re-energized, relaunched DisruptHR in Ireland. Is that fair to use that phrase? Yeah. I'm interested in, and I know it's a broader concept developed, by someone else, but obviously you're heavily involved in getting it out there. I'm interested in the how and why of DisruptHR, and obviously, given that the event was on last night, it's probably worth having a little bit of chat about that, because I do want to talk a lot about the power of networks, right? I know both of us are heavily involved in various guises in networks as this form to create change and innovation. But I'm interested in DisruptHR, how you got involved, where is it now, and we can talk about maybe your plans for DisruptHR in other areas or the jurisdictions over the next period of time.
Sure, absolutely. So DisruptHR is taking over my life.
It's disrupting.
It's
not more than the network. It's disrupting you as much as anything else.
It's becoming the day job. Disrupt was started in December 2013 in Cincinnati. It was founded by a lady called Jennifer McClure. She's awesome. She's been on the pod many times. Huge respect to you, Jen, if you're listening to this right now. It was going to be a one-off event, but it went terribly well. And so they started rolling out in new places. One of the first places they rolled out to was Toronto. Really great event. The format, which I'll talk a bit more about in a moment, is fun. It's not entirely unique because a bunch of other people have copied it since. But that's fine. That's flattery is a great compliment and all the rest of it. But it's more about the ethos. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's nice people being nice to each other. There are a lot of these stuffy conferences and whatnot out there. Well, let's be honest. In this world of in the HR world, it can be a wee bit formal at these events, right? That's not what Disrupt's about. It's about getting there and giving anybody an opportunity to have a voice, to mingle with each other, to learn from each other. Now, taking that to the format, so typically an event, and there are around about 170 cities actively hosting and Disrupt events at the moment. I'm involved with 7 or 8 of those, UK, US, and now Ireland. But those talks, because they're so short, 5 minutes each, you can afford to have 8 to 14, 15 speakers up on stage within a 3 or 4 hour event. So sure, you'll have the big hits just like yourself. We'll be up there, people everybody knows, and they speak all the time. Great. We'd love to learn from people like you, Barry. But but one of the reasons that I love the Disrupt brand itself is because it also gives an opportunity to new voices. Yeah, of course. Folks who've never got up on stage before, early career stage folks, and I think that's a unique, nice part of doing those events. Yeah, I'm really interested in, as you know, I'm very interested in networks in general, right? And there's a couple of things that you talked about there that really resonate with me, because I often think that these types of networks, particularly DisruptHR, from my experience of it yesterday, people are themselves at these networks, right? So there's almost a model there waiting to get out for organizations, right? So I'm really interested in, tough question for here, slightly off piste. Sorry, Bill. See what you can do for me here. I'm genuinely interested in, if there was 3 or 4 principles you'd love to extract from what you've learned at DisruptHR as a network of people being themselves. What principles would you bring into organizations like ours? What principles do you think would make those organizations much more a place that people can be themselves? Tough question, right? But I'm just really, because it's interesting what you said there. There's definitely something really interesting about, I'm going to say there's a natural inclusivity built into your format. Yep. So what are the principles, Bill? I was kind of go, okay, Bill, you're on the spot. Give me 3 principles that I can implement into CPL tomorrow based on DisruptHR as a network. There you go. I think authenticity is terribly important. You come to these Disrupt events and be authentic, and show people who you are. If you can take that into the workforce, great. I'm very anti having to have a facade. Yeah, figured that. Thank you. Well, it's 2026. Why can't you be yourself? If you're a good person, you've got constructive things to say, be authentic. So, sure, lots of organizations, they espouse that. I interview people all the time on my pod, and they say, we are authentic. We're authentic. We're all about lining up with our brand and all the rest of it. Is it true? Probably not. It's very often too top down. Not the rest of it. So I'd say that as number one. Communication. I think that the events that I'm involved with is very open forum. There are no there's no fear to be yourself, which ties back to the being authentic piece, I think. And third, fun. No, if I could say fun and love.
Yeah.
So I had this little
I saw
thing.
that. Yeah, I saw the logo you put up last night with the heart and the.
Yeah.
Was it the bulb in the heart?
The bulb in the heart. Yeah. So that represents the inspiration and the love.
Yeah.
You know, giving. So the inspiration is you will see the talks and you'll get inspiration from them. The love is what the audience has to do for the speakers because it's a unique format. It is a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So if you can have fun in an organisation and be kind to each other. I think that's something good to live by.
And Bill, just talking about the, let's call it the pathway for DisruptHR. I know you're actively involved now in, getting it broader reach, let's call it, over the next period of time. What's in your head for bringing DisruptHR to other places? What's the plans, broadly? What are you trying to do?
Barry, I did 38 events last year. And I've got two kids under 6.
Yeah.
So I promised myself that
they'll be coming to the event soon if you're not careful.
At this point. So I did say to myself at the beginning of 2026, let's scale it down and focus a little bit. But certainly there are some
less but more.
Yeah. I mean, but I have issues saying no. That's my problem. But certainly in terms of cities that I'm keen to focus on in the next sort of 12 months, London, Manchester, Birmingham. Cambridge, because we have a lot of traction in Cambridge.
A lot of really interesting companies in Cambridge, right? In this area, HR tech space.
Certainly are. Yeah. A lot of tech companies. Cool people over there. We do regular meetups that support our summits and lunches and all that kind of stuff as well. Dublin is now right up there. I just had the best time last night. We're talking about another city in Ireland that I don't want to mention on this pod today, but I think on the back of the success of last night. And now that my youngest child is a little bit older, I've been given permission to go back and do some more events back over in Toronto and surrounding.
So actually, you're going to end up doing more.
Maybe.
You've been given more rope to do more yet again. Yeah. That will all come back to haunt you eventually, I'm sure.
But I'd say to people if they're interested in starting in one of these Disrupt events, about 170 cities at the moment are hosting. Give it a go.
Give it a go. Yeah. And Bill, just to come, I'm really interested as well. Look, obviously this is a mega network, I'm going to call it now at this stage, and obviously for me, really good networks create change, right? They create some kind of, even if it's not a full-on change, it might be a mindset change, it might be some kind of a different way of doing things. I'm interested in your perspective on, particularly obviously the events you've been involved in. What kind of change is DisruptHR driving, even beyond the events that you've been directly involved in? I'm genuinely interested in that, because obviously there's a lot of networks out there, and genuinely they're all held together by trying to do some good stuff, right? Yep. So I'm just interested in DisruptHR and what impact you felt it's had, will have maybe into the future.
So because you've got so many speakers up on stage, the format is so tight, 5 minutes each. Yeah. They get to cover a lot of things. Yeah. Sometimes the disrupts that I'm involved with, they'll have a particular theme. So I've got one in Manchester next week as we record this, which is focused more on wellness. Yep. We had one in London last year, which was more around people analytics. Yeah. But generally speaking, it's anything to do with the world of work. Yeah. So in terms of the change, the impact for change, you're going to get little insights from a whole bunch of different people. So you've got little takeaways. I would like to think that the impact therefore is somebody will have a little bit of a spark, they'll take it out of the way, and then they'll learn a wee bit more. You're not going to learn that much in 5 minutes, but maybe it's going to excite you enough to learn a bit more. And by the way, you're in a forum there where you can go and approach the person who just did that talk and pick their brains, make that connection, have a follow-up conversation, maybe do some work with them in the future. Yeah, I know, it's really interesting. I'm very interested in, have you seen, if you come back to the, because part of this network thing is around diversity, right? So you mentioned about diversity of ideas. Does DisruptHR naturally, it's a strange question, does it naturally attract diversity and different thinking, or is that something that you find you have to work at when you're trying to find speakers for these events? And do you consciously make a decision to make sure that those different and varied voices are properly represented, I suppose, within the room? I'm interested in that side of things, Bill. Yeah, 100%. That's really important. So personally, I'm quite strict around that in terms of who we go after, why we're going after them, and what they can say on stage.
Yeah.
That said, I'll always give someone as much rope as I can.
Yeah.
Until they show me that maybe they're trying to sell.
Yeah.
You know, if I receive someone's deck or their pitch for what a deck would look like, and it's clearly them just trying to sell to a bunch of HR people in a room, forget about it. No, thank you. That's not what we're looking for. We're very purposeful in terms of the types of folks we go after in terms of the companies, their job roles, but also having that diversity. So I mentioned earlier in one of my other answers that one of the lovely things about the Disrupts, I think, is that we give those new voices an opportunity. So we'd always try to have the established folks up on stage, with maybe from the recognised brands, because they'll bring bums on seats from certain demographics. But then we can accommodate and highlight those other voices as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's kind of multi-generational, multi-thinking, all built into one. I think it's a very, very important aspect of the future of work. But just last question for me is, if there was a legacy that DisruptHR would leave, and you can talk also about your other work that you've done, because obviously you have a very successful podcast, you've a very successful newsletter, maybe put them all together, right? It's a hard one to do, but I'd be interested in 10, 15 years' time. What would people say about the work you've done? What legacy would you like them to have left, even if it's a small one? What would you like to have happened as a result of the work that you've done?
First and foremost, the most important legacy to me is my family.
Yeah.
Nothing comes close to that. It doesn't say on your gravestone. He did a really good HR podcast. But
I'm going to say it'd be slightly sad gravestone.
It really would.
I would read Bill Banham, editor of the HR Gazette. Reminds me of those really long ones from the 18th century, that goes on forever, and at the very end it says, in loving memory, remembered by, So not that.
I think the best one was Spike Milligan's, wasn't it? I told you I was ill.
That's right.
Anyway, in terms of 15, 20 years down the line, I would like for folks to think to themselves, you know what, that person who's now one of my best friends, I've done loads of work with, I'd always shared experiences. Where did I first meet them? It was at that event, because that event was a safe space. Or on the podcast side, it's been so many episodes now, what gave me an inspiration to learn more about that thing, whatever it was. It was listening to that silly podcast with that chap. That would be nice.
Yeah, that's good. That all makes sense. Yeah. So, Bill, thanks very much. Just a couple of reminders. Bill did mention a new unnamed city event coming up at some point in Ireland this year. Is that fair to say?
I think we
over
could
the
make
next few months, maybe.
Yeah. I think we can make it happen.
Time to be decided. Location to be decided. A lot of good cities in Ireland, so it'll be a tough choice. Bill, I want to say thanks very much for taking the time on the podcast. Thank you also very much for re-energising DisruptHR in Dublin last night. Very much looking forward to what you do next.
Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Bill.